Hello, good evening. I'm Brian Beveridge. I'm the Executive Director of the West Oakland Environmental Indicators Project. I welcome you here. Appreciate you coming out. And we hope to give you some historical foundation and some current understanding of the issues around metal shredders, not only here in Oakland, but the 9 other communities in California that have metal shredders. We'll define what a metal shredder is as we go along, and how it's different from paper recycling or metal recycling that we're all more typically familiar with. And we'll give you a sense of where the regulations stand and why we think we need a more community-driven approach to regulating this industry. Is that a good enough setup?
That's perfect.
Okay.
And you are though, Brian Beveridge, Executive Director. Oh, you did. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to that.
See who's listening?
Yeah, space out for a
Let's
second.
go around and introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everyone online. I can't move my computer around very well because it keeps getting disconnected. So just let us know if you can't hear, and we'll just assume that you can otherwise. And everyone here in the room, please just speak up if you could. Thank you.
Did you
Oh yeah, here. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'll go next. Scott Andrews. I've been working with WOAP for a number of years, mostly on air quality monitoring. But now I've been working directly with WOAP, doing fundraising, some project management, and have been kind of managing all this shredder advocacy work that we've been doing for the past couple of years.
So don't move it.
No.
Okay. Richard Grow, longtime advisor for the West Oakland AIP, used to be with EPA up until about 6 years ago, which is how I came to be working with these folks and have continued working since then. What should we do?
Nah, just we'll forget about the camera. Sorry, y'all.
I'm Luke. I've lived in Oakland on and off for a decade. We used to live like 2 blocks from Cass. We had a woodwork shared warehouse there. It smelled interesting regularly.
Yeah.
And we bought a house at 12th Madeline. I get more involved with making the neighborhood area more breathable.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm Kate. And yeah, Luke and I have been in West Oakland for a while. We kind of know the area with work, and just want to take the next step to see what we can do to help keep the air quality or improve the air quality. So
Beautiful.
hi.
Hello, welcome.
There's no one here.
Yeah, please come on out.
I'm Alicia. I work in West Oakland. We recently moved directly at the HVAC intake to the shredder, from the shredder. Where we're occupying sat vacant because of fraud, and I sucked in a lot of bad air. I've lost 2 teeth so far from infection immediately upon accessing. We were in West Oakland a little further on 14th, and I was getting concentration of poor air quality through the HVAC from the fires over my duration there, and that comes through my skin, through my organs, and explains my hair, which I try to keep edgy, but there's a reason for this. So my organs have been impacted. I thought I had cancer. All of this is just the toxins moving through my body. So I reached out once my colleague died when we moved in, and I've been a strong advocate since to do anything. This is extremely hard to identify. If you're not in the 30-day window for blood, finding someone to do a fluorescent x-ray to test my bones and organs is like, no one will do it. I've talked to every agency, and of course my doctors and my work think I'm nuts. And, so here is, showing my teeth to people isn't good enough. But so it didn't kill me. So I'm an advocate for that reason.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I just heard.
Okay.
We're just going around in intersections.
We're talking to the computer.
Yeah, we have a few people online, so if you could just speak up.
I'm just gonna rush here, but
Uh-huh.
We have to talk about your dental thing.
yeah, because I need to, I started having a dental issue as well.
Two people
area.
had a dental
Huh.
issue immediately upon, our new location.
Wow.
So some of you know about what I've been working on as far as both, my sister, hi,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Therese Petker, I'm the
Oh,
founder
great.
of Circular Solar.
Oh, okay.
Are we filming right now?
There are people on Zoom. It is being recorded.
So am I being
So
recorded right now?
you are being recorded right now. Yes, sorry about that. You missed the announcement.
Because to summarize, I've been working on basically how to deploy technology to help remediate all of the various emissions from radiative recycling, both from the air and the water. I've been exposing myself, and so has my engineer, to a bad hot spot to all of the pollution, but including downwind. So West Oakland is not just who gets all of this ongoing pollution. It's not just from the fires, it's ongoing. So where I test, I specifically put it there because I could take in really good visual results of all the various pollution because it's downwind of radius recycling. I used to have a vessel right in Jack London Square right next to, we knew it was always them because we would see back then before they made amendments or upgrades to their equipment, we could see sometimes the metal particles. But as we all know, they've made transitions and steps along the way to kind of improve the overall impact in the emissions. However, I too have had the worst health since I've been living in this area. But where I test is on a boat and it's not well sealed. And so the emissions come in ongoing. My doctors, the whole medical team is very aware of the various health problems I have to manage and whatnot. Long of the short is, I want to deploy the project here. Something new came up in the last week and a half where I might not be able to. See, one of the reasons why we have a really big case here is because there's PFAS associated to automotive shredder residue. PFAS is really hard to, shall we say, validate and prove, but I happen to be the person who was calling on 3M in the early 2000s to try to fix their remediation, their all of that stuff back then. My project is being reviewed globally. It's at the highest levels in the US. So that's all I'm going to say for now. And I've made I've met with various permitting people, and it's possible that this can roll out. We'll see. But again, as we all know, there's been a transition of the ownership as well. First, it went from Schnitzer to Radius. Now Radius has been bought by Toyota Tusho, which is a private company. I have reached out to Radius. They've not responded. The last gal, as we all know, she worked there. She passed on my information. I confirmed, never heard back from them, nor has Toyota Tusho also responded. And I'm getting pretty upset. And so we'll just see what happens. But that's all I'm going to say for now. But everyone can go online to the website. There's also a new tab called PFAS toxins and cancer. There's a lot of information there. And then on the second page of the website down below, you're going to find an image gallery. I've mapped out all of the various things and
What is the website? Sorry.
circularsolar.net.
Circularsolar.net. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I've basically put the whole project out there. I don't have a lot of IP protection. I've taken more of an open source kind of approach because I'm trying to roll this out globally. But anyway, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll talk more about monitoring and data in the course of the evening.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your?
We'll talk more about monitoring and data and some of the other ways in the course of the
You have
conversation.
the right equipment next door.
Thank you. What's next? Would you like to introduce yourself and give it just a basic reason why you showed up?
Hi everyone, my name is Karen Chen. I use she, her pronouns. I work with the Natural Resources Defense Council as an attorney on the mediation team. And I am here because I've been working actually with WOIP for the past couple of years, more generally with getting involved in this metal shredder issues. Mostly here to listen, but happy to pipe in wherever I can be helpful.
Karen has been a total rock star with all the advocacy work we've been doing, and So thank you for everything you've been doing.
State legislative level, we'll talk more about some of that stuff that's been done.
Yeah.
If you'd like to take the mic.
Mhm.
Hi, everyone. I'm Clara, she, her pronouns. I'm the communications manager at WOA. And maybe now we can give the mic to the people online. You guys are on video. If you want to, turn your video on, then we can see you, but no pressure. And Scott, if you want to stop screen sharing, please.
Yeah, I'm on two separate screens, actually. Can someone please, maybe, Bridget, could you test it and see if we can hear you?
Sure. How does that sound?
We need to stop screen sharing so we can.
Oh, yes. Okay, let me see. Where am I? I keep losing my cursor. There it is. Here, we can do this. Ta-da.
Awesome.
There we are.
Anyway.
All right. I think we're ready for you. Yeah, Bridget, go for it, please.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for accommodating me online. I'm Bridget. I've lived in West Oakland now for about 5 years. I've been a big fan of WOAP's work for a while, but haven't really gotten to get involved yet. So yeah, I'm just kind of here to learn more, listen, and see how I can help make my neighborhood safer and healthier, but also extend that to the general Bay Area as a whole. Thanks for hosting.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us. Is it Kulsum?
Hi, yes, it is Kulsum. Well, my name is Kulsum. I use she, her pronouns. I'm currently a master's student at UC Davis, and I recently did an interview with Brian, and he introduced me to this new program you guys are working on. So I'm just really interested in learning more, and if I have any questions, I'll probably ask them too.
Wonderful. What are you doing your master's in?
Environmental policy and management.
Perfect. Thank you. Ryan.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, good evening. My name's Ryan. I'm a metals recycler out of Bakersfield, California. I was in your guys' area several months ago for a meeting that you guys had. And I'm just curious. I don't have a shredder. Just more curious of what kind of rollout you guys are looking to do. Maybe get a head start in my area being a different air district. And I'd just like to try to be on top of some things in my area before it's too late.
Great. Thank you. That's
Thank you,
great.
Ryan. Yeah.
We have another one.
All right.
Hi, Frank Gallo.
Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Everyone. Frank is here as well. Frank, you've lived in the neighborhood for a long time, right? Is that true?
I've been involved with the IP and for mainly on port issues, diesel issues.
Ditching dirty diesel, way back in the history.
Yeah.
And you're still in San Leandro, right?
Oh, you're in San Leandro. I'm sorry. Great.
Did we get everybody on this side? I think
There's a sign up sheet. We didn't
Okay.
keep moving.
terrific.
Great. All right.
We go back to the agenda.
Let me see. Directions.
Looks good.
There we go.
So you're gonna do
Back
the-
over here.
We're
and see if I
gonna do the next bit.
There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick background here, and these slides are very text heavy, so I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to send around the deck to everybody. So if you don't, get all the details, then don't worry, you will receive it. So I'm going to go through it kind of quickly though, so we can focus on the discussion. But so this is an overview of how the metal shredding process works, as most of you probably know by now. The majority of the feedstock that they get is end-of-life vehicles. Radius Recycling, now owned by a Toyota's
Oh, yes.
Toyota's parent, one of Toyota's parent, something, I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
close tie, between the auto industry and the metal shredding industry in many cases. The same company that Radius and Pick and Pull are the same company. So so a lot of their the vehicles they get come from essentially junkyards. And once there's nothing left of value, then they end up going to the shredder. There's also a lot of appliances, other things, all the old BART cars that are being retired are also being handled by Radius. They like to be next to the bay because it makes, you know, their metal products that they pull out, both ferrous and non-ferrous, tend to be very heavy, obviously. And so shipping them by barge is what they prefer to do. So I think two of the biggest shredders in the state are here at the Port of Oakland and then at the Port of LA Long Beach. And as you can imagine, some of the byproducts obviously are not metal. Things like, you know, all the plastics and vinyls and things that are also in cars. And that turns into this metal shredder residue, they call it, some of which ends up as light fibrous material, kind of like in the air, the smaller, you know, lighter materials. But for the most part, it all ends up as this metal shredder residue that then gets chemically treated, which is essentially doused with cement, like a wet cement sort of material that supposedly kind of locks in all the potential toxic materials. And the state of California recognizes that that is a hazardous waste, but does not treat metal shredders as hazardous waste handlers, which we'll get into more.
Where does it go then? What's this? Coated with cement?
Oh, there's several landfills in California. I think both, I believe, are in Kern County. And then it also, some of it goes to Nevada, some of it goes to Arizona, some of it goes to Utah, I believe.
Can I just say, I walk in from Broadway because I'm par 42 across from the shredder. And there are 250 trucks of mostly smashed cars. And they're parking there for 3 days, you know, that's beside the point, but they're mostly and they're supposed to be covered, they're not. It's just a really nasty area.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to say one thing. I have two samples here, one that shows the LFN before they upgraded the equipment and then ongoing pollution. So if anybody passes around, you want to see it.
So we will,
Compressed particulate.
so we'll talk some of the external impacts that we are concerned about. Trucking, it's like, there's what happens on the site, there's what comes into the site, there's what leaves the site, and there's how those things happen. And then there's what's inside the fence line. They also have the barges that operate on diesel. The trucks all operate on diesel, right? So we'll talk about all those pieces as we dissect actually what the primary business does.
Yeah.
So it's all very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. And this is a good slide that the Air District put together, just kind of showing, you know, what are the main air quality issues, concerns around these large shredders. As you mentioned, you know, trucks, rail, ships, like, are some of the indirect sources. But then the direct sources would be, you know, the different gases that they're, what's the new thing that they just put in, the metal, the oxidizer?
Oh, it's what they call
The
it.
carbon filter?
No,
They installed two thermal oxidizers,
Thermal
which are
oxidizer.
big gas incinerators. And then they attach the output of the thermal oxidizer to a called a wet packed, which means it uses water to capture whatever's left. And so that was a requirement of the 2022 settlement. It's about $32 million of investment. Doesn't solve all of our problems though, so. Sir,
What does improper depollution mean?
It means that they don't properly empty the vehicles of all flammable liquids and chemicals. So they drain the gas tank, but there's still a little bit in it. They drain the oil, but there's still stuff inside the engine. They don't take out the interior, which is what this stuff is. So if you pulverize polyester headliners and seats, you get pulverized fabric and little tiny flakes. They call it light fibrous material. You were talking about
That's
being
probably what's on that sponge.
over in Jack London Square. It used to look like this. It would pile up in the corners and in the cracks like dryer lint. Under the settlement, Radius was required to vacuum about a half a mile of Jack London Square. There was so much of this stuff had piled up over decades because they were what they call the shredder is called a hammer mill. It pounds the stuff into tiny chunks about the size of your fist. As they did that, all that fabric was being shredded into tiny fibers and blowing away. They were also required to put a building around the hammer mill now. So they have a building, it's supposed to have negative pressure, which means it holds stuff in, and it also has the 2 incinerators. But we believe they still have problems.
So let's run through this timeline real quick and then carry on. So 1986 is when California DHS, now called DTSC, the Department of Toxic Substances Control, basically came up with this F letter exemption, which while they recognize again that a lot of these materials are hazardous, it is not considered to be a hazardous waste facility. You guys can read this later. In 2018, skipping ahead quite a bit here, the California legislature passed a bill that would have ended the F letters and told DTSC that they needed to develop alternative standards within 4 years, and they just did not do that. And therefore the bill expired and it just never happened. Jumping ahead to August 2023, which is what initially brought together a group of concerned citizens and agencies in more of a organized fashion, was the fire in August of 2023. Really large feedstock pile fire here in West Oakland. I'm sure anyone who was around saw the smoke and probably had to shelter in place. So that prompted this rapid response task force, which met for over a year, and essentially was just a lot of agencies kind of talking about what they were doing, what they couldn't do, and nothing, it wasn't really action oriented. So, there's a photo of the fire.
That's what actually caused my heart failure, because I was perfectly healthy in July.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even know until my eye doctor said, you're at a really dangerous level. And I mean, like in 1 month, and I didn't connect the dots until, again, we moved and someone died. So scary.
I had a lot of.
Yeah, it's probably one of the first indicators, but you wouldn't know unless you check your blood pressure on a regular basis.
That's right.
So this will be very relevant to you, which I'm sure you know of, Charisse. In 2024, Mia Bonta sponsored a bill that would require fence line monitoring at all large metal shredders. I don't believe it applies to your type of facility, Ryan, but it will by I think January 1st of 2027, all the shredders will have to basically propose a plan to their local air district. We hope that they will be working with their local air districts well in advance of that. But that bill did pass, so we will have required fence line monitoring, but what exactly that looks like, we don't know yet, and it will vary from air district to air district. But hopefully this group and this collaborative that we're putting together here can help inform, what that looks like. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Can I ask a question about that fence line monitoring?
Sure, can you speak up maybe so the people online can hear you?
I've got a question about the fence line monitoring. Is it, have any levels been established? I mean, is it just collection of data or is it a real protective measure? In other words, if a certain level is reached at, will, you know, other rules kick in, there'll be a fine or it'll be shut down? Because we've seen this kind of problem before. I was involved with aviation issues. And, you know, first the monitors were placed out where airplanes weren't picked up with those monitors, and then, you know, we've had to go through decades to put the monitors where we would actually see the concerns of affected residents. So I see this, the danger of this without any thresholds being established, that it's putting off any mitigation.
Yeah, that's definitely something we'll be working with the Air District on, is figuring all of that out. And also what type of, you know, alert system will be in place to, you know, notify people in the neighborhood before it's too late. So that's a very good question and point. Also, during the same legislative session is when Radius convinced Ben Allen to basically pull one of his existing bills that had already gone through the Senate Environmental Quality Committee review, and they replaced the entire bill with this, what was then called SB 1234, which is the metal shredder legislation, essentially an update to the health and safety code. He ultimately pulled that bill. Oh, here we are with Mia Bonta, Miss Margaret, yeah. And that's Rowena Brown there on the right. She was Bonta's chief of staff and is now a council member at large here at Oakland. Really good advocate. So then we did convince Alan to ultimately pull that bill before it went to final floor vote. So that was a win last year. But then earlier this year, Ana Caballero sponsored a new version of SB 1234 as SB 404. And I'm sure a lot of you probably heard about what happened there. Oh, sorry. This was also when we started this multi-agency collaborative as a follow-on to the Rapid Response Task Force, which Brian will get into a bit more during his time.
Do you want to mention, and thank you, Karen, but the gang, West Oakland AIP and its allies from around the state and NRDC in particular, SB 404 passed the Assembly and the Senate, but got to Newsom's office, and folks kept engaging in Newsom's office, and he vetoed the bill like a week ago or something, and vetoed the bill because he said it just wasn't adequately protective.
Yep. Yeah, so that was
sorry.
That was great. No, that's good.
I'm sorry, I thought you were right under the collaborative.
No, we will right after this.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. And right now, concurrently, the Air District is actually updating its rules around metal shredding operations for facilities that process more than 50,000 tons per year. There was a comment period, a public comment period that Richard helped us draft some comments on, and it's still under consideration. The final,
I'm out of touch if it is happening.
I don't think anything's happened yet.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that hopefully we can continue to work with the Air District on. And yeah, so I mentioned SB 404 was vetoed, so that was great, but we think it's going to be reintroduced in some form or another. And that may or may not be one of the main things that this collaborative focuses on. That's something that we need to discuss as a community and with other members of the collaborative. So now Brian's going to walk us through what a collaborative problem solving process looks like, or can look like. and how we may be able to apply it to this issue.
Sure, sure. I assume there are no slides.
Not on this one, you're a talker.
How long do I have?
15
minutes. You have to keep me under control. You don't mind if I stand, do you? I can see you better. And it's easier to talk. So why a collaborative instead of a multi-agency task force, which is what we had before? So under the Rapid Response Task Force, which is a partnership based on a memorandum of understanding between US EPA, which today is a very different agency, but 3 years ago when they signed this thing, it was between US EPA and Cal EPA. And the purpose was to join their authority for better enforcement in specifically very difficult issues. And so when the big fire broke out, yes, they reached out to us. Community held a big public meeting. I don't know if any of you were at that meeting. But then Cal EPA, I think, reached out to us and said, we got this whole thing we can do. You want to work on it with us? And correct me if I'm way off track on any of this. Sounds good. So we said, sure. And we worked up our own little agreement. And that was 7 agencies, maybe. Cal EPA, US EPA, CAR, the Air District, the Water Board, and now and then the Health Department.
And you had the Alameda County Attorney, AG's office.
That's right.
which was
Yeah,
pretty
AG's
significant.
office was there, showed up. And the idea was to say, we have this big problem, but what are all your authorities, and can your authorities solve this problem? So we spent about a year working with them. We had meetings every quarter in between. In the end, the agencies all said, well, we have authority over this. The Air District said, we have authority over this piece. And DTSC said, we don't have much authority at all because everybody sues us every time we try to do something, or we don't do it. They sue us for not doing it, right? So DTSC is really the primary agency that's supposed to control solid waste and regulate it. And they're like, we don't know what to do. That Department of Toxic Substance Control. So they manage solid waste in California. As well as ground chemicals in the ground as well, yeah. So they should be regulating this industry, but as Scott pointed out, they were given a mandate from the legislature to figure out how to regulate it. Basically, the question was, do these F-letter waivers we've been giving this industry since the 1980s actually protect public health in a modern world? And they were given that mandate in 2011. I was on a committee in 2018. And by 2020, by the time the legislation ran out, they still hadn't done the job. They were still struggling with the industry's lawyers and with and a lot of different people.
How many years?
That's 12 years.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And then the legislation to do it ran out, sunset. So then the outcome was, well, the F letters are okay, let's keep using them. The industries, in the end, the task force basically said, each agency said, well, here's what we can do, but it doesn't solve the problem you're asking us about. And then the next one, here's what we can do, but it doesn't solve the problem you're asking about. Because our central theme was, they shouldn't have giant toxic fires. But there was no agency that regulated giant toxic fires. The air quality people, VACMed, right? They didn't even consider the fire an air quality problem. It was a short-term incident. Even though it went all the way to San Jose, and at that night, the wind reversed and the smoke went all the way to Martinez. And we had people from all the way east, all the way to Livermore and beyond. Writing to us and saying, this is what happened to me, right? So the entire East Bay was affected. Yeah.
Was there any penalty to them from that fire?
There were penalties. I can't list them for you, but there were penalties about their process. And sort of in fact, 2 people were indicted by the Alameda County, what do we call it? DA's office. And then the new DA came in and said, well, we're gonna drop that because we don't have a good enough case. But that was process. That was local managers didn't do something that they were supposed to do, but they were criminal indictments.
Destroying evidence.
Right. They said, well, we're gonna destroy this pile of stuff, and everybody said, don't do that, but they did it anyway. And he said, we told you we were gonna destroy it. So this is an industry that relies heavily on, we told you stuff, and you should have made it clearer to us. And if we don't like what you do, you'll hear from our lawyers. And so you fined us $4 million. We don't care. It's the cost of doing business. They've been fined a lot. They have had lots of violations, multiple violations a year for decades. And they just basically, one of our issues is, if the fines aren't big enough for them to care, the fines need to be bigger. How do we get bigger fines? Is that a legislative question? Is that an administrative question? If the fires happen and, the Oakland Fire Department came out to put the fire out, spent 4 days there, and Radius didn't pay anything. They're just like we are. You have a fire at your house, fire department shows up because you're a taxpayer, they put the fire out in your kitchen. You don't pay anything for that. Radius didn't pay anything either for 4 days of a 3-alarm fire.
Can I offer a comment? There was some research that came out about a week ago. I think David Peters did, about a year ago. He looked in the financials for this company and found out that they basically built the fines into their business model.
Yeah, they're bold enough to just tell their investors, this is how we handle environmental fines. They're built into the business model. So our pricing and everything, our revenues are based on the fact that we'll pay $100 million a year in fines all over the country, because they have facilities all over the US and around the world. So when we got to the end of the year, and Cal EPA were in a partnership with, said, well, these things are intended to last a year. And everybody said, well, we didn't really achieve anything, did we? We analyzed everyone's authority, but we didn't decide what we could do because no one actually had the authority. They didn't have the scope in their authority to address what we were asking for, which was don't have any more fires. There was don't let stuff blow over the fence line, so put in this expensive equipment, and there are other things. But the company says toxic fires in piles of material waiting to be shredded are unavoidable. There will occasionally be a toxic fire because there's nothing else we can do about it.
Especially with the proliferation of lithium-ion batteries that tend to catch up.
So as I sometimes describe this, I was saying we were doing a tour yesterday, and I said, and my first car was my father's 1965 Mustang. So that car was made out of steel and it had some rubber in it, and it had headliners and stuff. Leather, actually, I think maybe it was vinyl, I don't know. But it was basically steel and rubber and some brass fittings and things like that, right? So if you pulverize that car, you mostly get steel and rubber. And if you pulverize a modern car, you get about, well, I think in the extreme case, Scott wrote a little white paper about it, 72 inches of screens. All through the car, there's screens, there's cameras, there's over 1,000 microprocessors. They're crushing your television set and letting it blow into the wind. That's basically what they're doing, right? A car today is a lot more than steel and rubber. It's all sorts of metals. It's rare earth stuff. It's batteries. I don't think they crush batteries, but they do crush little batteries, and that's where some of the fires started. And they say, oh, what are we supposed to do? Somebody left a flashlight battery in the glove compartment. What are we supposed to do about it? Well, you own pick and pull. Maybe you should. That's the de-polluting, right? Maybe you shouldn't let any batteries go into your shredder or lay in the sun in a big pile of metal, right? So you're talking about a pile of stuff that's filled with flammables. And it wasn't the shredder material that burned. It was a pile of scrap washing machines and car stuff and stuff, right? It was what they call the feedstock pile. But it's got all sorts of flammables in it, and they pile it up real high, and then you get spontaneous combustion. Maybe a little battery gets smashed in the pile, that heats up and starts something else going, the carpeting or something starts going. So that's essentially where the fires come from. And everyone said, well, we don't know what to do about them. Well, maybe the whole industry has to take a step back and look at their feedstock supply. They're vertically integrated, right? It's from Toyota to Radius to Pick and Pull, you know, and probably other subsidiaries. So, yeah, Frank.
Just a comment about vertical integration. What Europe is doing now, I believe, Audi is recycling their cars. So they have, they have clean facilities where you see the guys taking out the seats, taking out the headliner, taking out the glass, and this one got a specialty in for each position, as well as the the motors and differentials like that. And I guess they want to have a steady supply of Audi's using a lot of aluminum, so I think they're really happy that. But since it looks like the industry is already semi-vertically integrated, as you said, so it would seem like Pick and Pull, there's a place there where the depollution can start right there, like moving headliners and seats out of the cars, and in turn maybe start putting pressure on the manufacturers to incorporate into their design element. So from the get-go, they have recycling in the ease of recycling in the design and construction of the car.
Absolutely. I think, we have this notion of cradle to cradle manufacturing. So if you have all of these microprocessors in little epoxy blocks inside of here that you can reprogram, because they have to update the programming, those must be adaptable because you can reprogram them. But what we do instead is we just smash stuff. Yes.
We got a great question online from
Oh, great.
I heard there has been a push to use the cloth and plastic fluff from cars to line landfills. Is that true?
It is.
Use
It is called.
chemically treated residue to
It's called
cover.
daily cover.
Yeah.
It's the chemically treated residue, and that's laid on top of the landfill to cover up all the other nasty stuff we send to the landfill. So every day they put a layer of this stuff on with the bulldozers, flatten it all out. They put a layer of this daily cover material that is supposed to be non-toxic. And then next day they put more of the trash on top of that. And then they put another layer because they're trying to seal in all of the decaying material and all the other garbage that we're sending to the landfill. But it's a really good way to get rid of a waste product, so you don't have to pay to do something with it. It becomes a product now. Oh, now we send this to the landfill and they like to use it.
That's what was my thinking with Pick and Pull. Like, that's literally toxic waste. Who wants that, And so they need someone to take their toxic waste.
Yes. And that's really, you bring up a good point. The industry, the big fight in the industry is, and this is why they fight DTSC, who manages toxic waste. The industry doesn't want to be called waste. It's like, you can call us toxic, you can call us toxic managers, but we don't want to be under toxic waste rules because we think we're more important than being waste. because we pull so much value out of this waste stream. So it's not waste until we're done with it. Then that little bit that's left over, you can call that waste if you want and regulate that, the stuff we send to the landfill. But you can't regulate the stuff in the pile. You can't regulate the stuff we smash. You can't regulate the sorting of the ferrous versus non-ferrous. You can't regulate any of that because it's not waste.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Trace.
Well, yeah, but it hits the water. So you're screwed. You're screwed.
It hits the water. Was there a question on that?
No, I was just noticing that we're about time for this section
Yeah.
and I want to make sure people have a grounding in what the
Okay,
collaborative is, how it works,
Yeah,
who are
so-
the chairs.
So, yeah, let me move on to that as, thank you for
And
reeling me in.
and Richard's gonna talk about Red Star, so you don't have to touch on that, but
Okay, all right,
but just the process.
sure.
Also, are there more slides for that?
Yes.
So moving on, the task force thing didn't work so well because the real problems weren't regulated yet. Aren't regulated yet. That's really the problem. So we shift to a model that we're fairly familiar with, called collaborative problem solving. And we look at that, it's multi-stakeholder collaborative problem solving, in which we bring everybody, including the offenders, to the table. And the idea is that we have a problem that's bigger than any one entity. No agency can solve our problem. 10 agencies can't solve our problem. The industry maybe could solve it, but they haven't been in a dialogue yet to solve it. They've mostly been they mostly had a target on their backs. And that's not a good way to have a dialogue. So we put together a collaborative in which we all try to leave our knives at the door. And for a little while we're talking, we define individual self-interest. So the community can say, well, our self-interest is no matter toxic fires, we don't want anyone else getting cancer. We don't want anybody else with, brain problems or, the regulators their self-interest is we want to adequately regulate, but we don't seem to be able to do it under the circumstances. The industry self-interest is we want to stay in business and make money. So all of that is acceptable, whatever your self-interest is. But the regulator can't regulate you out of business. You can't kill our community. It's like there are terms for this. So then the question is, how do we stop fires? Or the question is, how do we stop exposing people to stuff? And then maybe the next question is, what is the stuff we're exposing people to? So it becomes a broader conversation. I think a couple of you were touching on the point that we know some of the stuff that's produced there, but we don't know all the stuff that's produced there. No one has looked for chrome 6, but some people suspect it's one of the emissions, right? Very bad chemical, right? We've talked about typical transportation stuff like benzene and things, but what about micronized metals? You're crushing cars. Where does that stuff go? Even the fluff, right? How do you capture it? How do you keep it on site? How do you then do something, dispose of it properly? So the collaborative model says we have a common problem or a common set of issues for which no one in the room currently at the beginning of the discussion has a solution. It is co-led by the community. So we sit at the head of the table next to Cal EPA. And so Cal EPA brings their authority to convene other agencies. We bring our authority or power, influence to convene community members to participate. And along with that are big NGOs that want to help us out, like NRDC, and the research community that we have as friends and neighbors that we work closely with over the years. So it's a very different approach, and it's an approach that says we have a big common problem. It depends on what your angle is, but it's still your problem, right? And no one group can solve it. It's going to take the resources of a large group. I can tell you You may be thinking, how will that get anywhere? I can tell you, every time we enter into one, I'm uncertain how it will go. But every time it leads to a positive outcome. It leads to a situation that's better off than when we started. But it's always uncertain because we don't know where it will go or what we will discover because the goal is to discover something we don't know now. Discover methodologies or options or resources that will come to the situation. And if we don't know them now, then we can't predict the outcome. We've done about 5 of these big things. We've done smaller ones. But, you know, Richard's here because he was sitting next to us at the first one in 2005, I think it was. West Oakland Toxics Reduction Collaborative. And that's where we built our relationships with all these agencies. Yes.
Thank you. So who were you talking to at the EPA federal?
Good question.
Mostly they're all on furlough now. In fact, the woman who was going
I
to.
am.
So everybody's on furlough. The woman who was going to help us in the upcoming meeting in November with the hybrid meeting. She said, oh, I got that, you know, at the last planning meeting. And then yesterday she sent out an email and said, sorry, I can't even be there. I can't work on anything because they sent me home. So
I'm getting paid nothing and our family's been doing everything. If you really care, you could do it. Sorry, no offense to her, but like. come on.
no, I mean, it just been,
Which, look at your
Yeah.
impact. Oh, yeah. On you personally. This is bringing people forward.
she could probably participate as a civilian, but she can't bring any agency assets to that table.
Right.
Right?
The most
Currently.
important thing has been not the fires, proving the water damage.
Mhm.
That's the key, because that's federal and that's EPA.
Yeah,
You
but
figure out ways to benefit them, maybe they'll listen.
right now they ain't here, so that's.
I'm here.
Yeah, yes,
And
so,
SF Baykeeper has been really active with us as well.
Baykeeper's been on.
Baykeeper,
Yeah.
so.
They've been very active in Karen is here as a legal group.
Good.
Several groups who were working on various lawsuits, right? Including the A's lawyers are still involved.
Yeah.
You know.
Because this is public. The best thing to do is not lawsuits, make deals.
Mhm.
That's worked well for me.
Brian, can I talk briefly about the federal role?
Please do.
My assignment 22 years ago was, I worked for Reach 9 EPA for 40 years, all in the air program, the environmental justice civil rights program. My assignment was to go see if we could figure out a collaborative relationship with the community of West Oakland. And out of that came the very first collaborative problem solving collaborative, which was from the Toxic Reduction Collaborative. The federal role that was useful was not implementing the Clean Air Act or the RIC or any of those. They all sit over there. The main thing the EPA brought there was the ability to get everybody to come to the table because EPA funds every one of these agencies. There's also running through that is the fact that all of these agencies as recipients of federal funds are subject to the Civil Rights Act requirements that they address disproportionate impacts. So there's a number of ways in which the federal influence plays out. Rarely is it that EPA comes in and enforces the Clean Water Act or Clean Air Act. It's hovering there, you make use of it. But we all know as you get down to where the rubber hits the road, there really hasn't much. This comes up on the collaborative table for the last 2 years over and over and over. And you understand there's political, there's all sorts of stuff. It has nothing to do with Trump. At this point it does, but this was even under Biden, which was actually the most proactive agency administration ever worked on it. So federal role is there, but as part of the point of the collaborative is how to figure out what each agency can do, might do, could possibly do, how to orchestrate that in a realistic way. Expecting heroism out of any agency is just ridiculous. You should demand it, but you're not going to get it. There's other ways to go which you can get it.
Which is how.
Couldn't we just physically stop this plant from operating?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
It is.
We'll have a huge pop.
It
Where we
is.
send where we send everything.
We're going
Yeah.
to talk about that. We're
Talking about that.
going to
Yeah.
talk about
Then it
that.
really acts like we're-
It is within the authority of some agencies, but we'll talk
What about
about
Yucca
that.
Mountain with all the toxic waste? I mean, there are places for waste.
Yeah, and there are better ways to handle it. I think what we have is what we currently have, and Frank was touching on what we should have. We currently have a 19th century industry that takes a lot of stuff that's not good for anything and smashes it up and puts it in giant piles and then loads it on barges and hauls it somewhere and then uses it as raw material. We don't take it apart and reuse any parts of it. We smash it to pieces and we make it back into the raw material that was used to make the thing. This is about as primitive as you can get in the reuse of materials. There is plenty of technology in which we could disassemble these things and use parts of them in some better way. But this industry, in fact, the entire recycling industry operates like the 19th century. Giant piles of crap, sort it out into what's sellable, take the rest and dump it somewhere and make money. And, you know, it's all manual labor mostly, right? It's not a modern industry. It's the 21st century. And we have these industries operating like this, right? Because it's such an important industry. This is what they always say to us. We're so important. Without us, your whole street will be full of used cars, right? Everything will be piled with cars. Every freeway will be buried in cars. It's like, well, okay, we'll talk about that. You can't poison us just because we need you. That's really the issue, right?
Beth, did you put this up because you're suggesting you move into human?
I am suggesting that people have been asking questions kind of as we've been going. So
I'm going to quickly talk because there's some, I think all of you are.
We can also do a shout out to the people online if you guys have any questions.
Sure, yeah,
since
please
you've
do,
been able
please
to
do.
participate a little bit less. We'll just open it up. Does anyone online have any questions about what's been talked about so far?
No, I'm good. You guys are doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So very briefly, the Red Star Yeast campaign, because it's,
Richard was supposed to.
Richard's going to do that?
Yeah.
Well, for examples, but you're saying there's collaborative lessons came out of that, I think, right?
Yeah, there's just a little strategic piece because I think within our group, there are different potential approaches to how we've done. I just wanted to make the point that Red Star Yeast used to be right there on the corner. It was a big yeast factory. And when that campaign began to get them to clean up, they eventually just pulled up stakes and left because it was cheaper. But to get them to clean up, there was a three-pronged campaign. There was the street heat piece. People were coming out and protesting the facility and they were pressuring policymakers. There was a legal piece. People were ginning up a lawsuit against, I don't know, it was them or the air district for not regulating appropriately. And there was what I would call today a collaborative component. There were some of us who met with administrators and lawyers and had a conversation with the air district on why this place was a problem. So there is nothing in what we're talking about tonight relative to collaboration that, what do you call, forestalls a lawsuit or that people can't go protest. In fact, it is very beneficial to have the pressure come from multiple directions. So tonight we're talking about this, what sounds like this, happy ass, let's all get together and talk about it. But simultaneously, people can be bringing different kinds of pressure against not only the company, but the people who are supposed to be regulating them. So I just wanted to say that as a preface. We believe in all of the available tools, whether it's litigation or it's aggravation or it's collaboration, right? Tonight, we're just talking about how we're trying to turn this ship away from something that wasn't working, which was the task force, towards something that maybe empowers more people to bring solutions to the table.
Can I connect it to lessons maybe, or
Please
Yeah,
do, yeah.
please.
should I just sit here or what?
I'll
Yeah.
stop talking for a while.
Oh, okay.
Here, we'll
Take
play
over.
musical chairs.
Richard Grow coming in a role of advising West Oakland AIP for quite a while, former US EPA, retired in 2019. Talk about two instances that are highlighted on the slide there, both of which represented victories for community health in the face of really noxious sources. In one case, 2003, Red Star East, the issue came to a head after about 10 years of community action, protests and all of that sort of thing. 20 years later, a shredder in Chicago tried to relocate from a community that was developing, gentrifying, becoming predominantly white, tried to relocate to a predominantly Black community, and again, sustained community involvement and resistance. They were never allowed to reopen in that community. I would say that there's lessons, and we've tried to bring them to bear in this collaborative and the task force, that are relevant to what we're dealing with here with the Radius facility. Brian described Red Star yeast, and it's hard to describe how noxious it was, not just in the community health sense, but when things went haywire there, basically it was hard to breathe for many blocks around here in the whole community of West Oakland, or even in a BART train that's opened its doors too long coming through the West Oakland BART station. Common to both of these in Chicago, the example there is a shredder, as I mentioned, very similar to the shredder issue here, and the issues were raised were very much similar. The outcome there, and that's what's relevant in the case of Red Star yeast, by all the things that Brian described, including the federal presence in various ways, that facility elected to leave town. In the case of Chicago, that shredder never reopened in that community. So in both cases, this is not exactly the desired outcome that we're aiming for, but it's a possibility here that this facility will not continue to operate.
What was the timeline on General Iron from the protest starting to the?
I don't know the starting point. I wasn't even aware of it till a few years ago. NRDC was very much involved there in representing the community.
Why are you defining that the outcome shouldn't be that this closes?
No, I'm not saying it shouldn't. It's not necessarily where we're headed. That's not our starting point, the collaborative. It is possibly, if we can't work this out, you may not be allowed to continue to operate. If I get into some of the commonalities between these two situations, it might start to become clear. Common to both of them was that the outcome is this facility is no longer polluting or harming this community. Community health was protected. Also common was they both had strong, sustained community opposition, framed in the form of a clear demand. In the case of Red Star, it was simply get out. It was that simple at the time. That frankly, there was nobody ready to put up with it. In the case here, I think the one way it was articulated, Brian, you used to describe this, I mean, you have described it, is clean it up or get out. And what each of those terms mean is sort of the subject that the collaborative needs to grapple with. But there's a clear demand. That's what they had in common. What they also had in common in both cases, the resolution came by way of involvement of full, broad variety of characters, agencies, academia, all sorts of interests had to come to they weren't at the table necessarily, but they all became involved. In the case of Chicago, there was no table. And in fact, in Red Star East or the Chicago case, there was never a formal collaborative or an MOU. But that's kind of what I'm trying to get to here is the successes there can be brought to the table, are being brought to the table in an effective collaborative problem solving format. So there's a broadcast of characters, there's a number of agencies, as Brian described. Typically, every agency's starting point is, well, I can only do this, I can only do that. My regulations only allow me to regulate this, that, or that, or that, including EPA takes that perspective also, until you get into these other statutes like the Civil Rights Act. What they also had in common, though, as Brian mentioned, is in Red Star East, there was a legal hook, and likewise in Chicago, there was a legal hook. In the case of Red Star East, there are several legal hooks. Clean Air Act compliance was one of them, but especially they were coming up on, and what cleared the field and bought time for the engagement to happen was a requirement for a Clean Air Act Title V operating permit, which is seen by EPA and by an awful lot of people as simply a ministerial requirement. And it wasn't even a new permit. It was coming up for a routine 5-year renewal. And that's where my boss assigned me to come talk with West Oakland folks. And my direction was, don't you dare take a position on, I moved it. Was to not take a position on the Red Star East facility itself. So the position what EPA brought here is you're subject to Title V and you will comply with Title V. And that's where we ran that as far as we could, stop the process to actually engage on Title V and leverage the basic requirements of Title V, which are simply bringing all the conditions. You want to jump over here?
No, it's come back.
And another one of the criteria for Title V, this almost obscure requirement of the Clean Air Act, is that you have to have an enforceable permit. And basically the community made the case that how can you believe this permit's enforceable when they never comply with the permit? Now, the relevance of that here, the legal hook, there's several legal hooks relevant to the radius facility here. One of which is, again, they've been subject to Title V requirements for 6 years now, and they've never complied with it. Nobody's made them comply with it. They lack a Title V Clean Air Act permit, and they've been required to have one for 6 years now. Nobody's forced the issue, including we haven't. We haven't filed a lawsuit. One was like, sorry, I won't touch a thing.
Oh, sorry.
Another legal hook, though, is also the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which requires funded agencies such as the Bay Area Air Quality District, such as DTSC, to actually pay attention to disproportionate impacts and take all possible steps they can to avoid disproportionate impacts. Again, that's a law that's really hard to get applied and irrelevant. Forget that this is the Trump administration, under any administration. But part of my role at EPA also was working on Title VI. The common elements here that I think are relative to the collaborative problem solving issue are the fact that you have a broad variety of parties here that are all at the same table. And in these cases, these two here, they weren't at the same table, but they're all orchestrated one way or another. The point of a collaborative is you get them around the table and they have to talk to each other. They have to talk to you. And I just have to tell you, that's a whole different format when it comes to agencies making their excuse. I only regulate this, or I only regulate that, and I only regulate that. That's where the problem solving comes in. Common, again, to both situations was to be at the table, not to be at the table. In both instances, at least on the face of it, the agreed upon goal was to protect community health. Every one of these agencies has that on the face of it. At the collaborative, that's actually the definition of the goal of the collaborative, among other things. Most unique, I'd say, and the element that can play out creatively in a collaborative problem-solving table is you get the agencies and the other interests around the table, the community voice around the table, is there's no way for the discussion to go on. In fact, early days, 2005-06, when the first collaborative we're doing there, we had a facilitator that go around and have every agency go ahead and, she put it politely, talk about your barriers, which was, go ahead and make the best excuse you can. Put it out here. Tell us what your problem is. Sorry, we're not done. We're going to go around again. And let's hear if you can't do a little bit better on that. In fact, let's hear if this agency and that agency, is there anything you can do together to maybe leverage half of your authority and half of yours to get at that? That's where the creative stuff comes in. And an effectively run collaborative problem solving table, which you have here and which we had back then. What happens is agencies are forced to actually think a little creatively about the discretion they have. You know, every agency has more discretion than they actually apply at the starting point. The trick is to get them to exercise discretion that they actually have and maybe haven't thought about. For instance, one of our discussions here at this collaborative table, this is not that many months ago, maybe it was back at the task force stage, Alameda County Health. No, it was a working call around the legislation. They explained all their concerns, made an excellent case why they were really concerned about this facility. Miss Margaret Gordon asked, so do you have the ability to deny the permit? And frankly, in all good faith, their first answer was, well, no, we don't. We drilled down on that question, but aren't there some approvals you have to give for this? Well, yeah, actually, there are approvals we have to give. We didn't tack that to the wall, but the point is every agency has more authority and discretion than they're used to exercising, especially if we have some attorneys helping them understand their own laws and regulations. What I'm getting at there is these two solutions here that actually resulted in elimination of sources. Maybe that's not where we're headed here, but there's lessons as far as how effective, creative, push your discretion, actually focus on community health and radius. We'd like to see you keep operating here, but frankly, you can't do it if you're not going to protect community health. There's a way to work that question. So that's my take on the lessons. Lessons as far as the community's role, though, I mean, a lot of different roles, but for one thing, it's been important in both cases where the community have a clear common sense demand, our health, or clean it up or get out. But it's important to have this legal hook also. You do them both and just bat it back and forth. That's one impression of it. Brian, you've been in much longer and deeper than I have. I mean,
no, I think that's a good summary. We kind of shifted slightly. We said when, you know, the $3 billion corporation said we really don't want to leave because we like being by the water, it's sort of like, oh, okay, that's teeing up the fight. the get out fight. Do we have the juice to make this corporation leave? What I started to say was, look, you need to either leave or make us feel like we don't know you're here, which means you don't have any more impacts on our community. That means you spend money to stop impacting us. Whatever that means, I don't know. But you clean yourself up to the level that it seems like you left. And I think that's a reasonable statement for an industry of this scale that operates in an urban neighborhood. They're not out on the edge of town, they're not out in the desert somewhere. If you don't want to take care of your business properly, move to Nevada. You could put shit on a train and take it to Nevada and smash it all you want to. But Nevada doesn't care what you do. Move to Nevada. You buy a lot of land for what you'll get for this piece of shoreline, right? You can have rail access. Yeah. So the point being, we're kind of trying to pick our fight a little bit. We know they got unlimited dollars, and as Scott said, they'll probably gin up another Senate bill next year. They'll find some other senator that doesn't have a shredder in their district.
Faster than that. Is it time for Q&A?
Yeah, almost. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Go ahead.
do we know if either Attorney General Bonta, Councilwoman Bonta, or Gavin Newsom has contacted the EPA? Has that been confirmed?
Don't know.
The US EPA? About what specifically?
Steve Zeldin's office. I want to know if they called him up, contacted them.
Don't know.
Because
I don't
this all could move a lot faster, I think, if one of them just called.
Where would
It
it
said
move to?
what though?
Because right now there's a lot of tariff negotiations between the US and China. Right now, like within really soon,
Which affects the port, yeah.
which affects the port. There have been tariff negotiations with Japan.
Mhm.
It like lawsuits gonna take too long. Things are moving fast. And the work that I've been doing internationally is all about the circular economy as well, to making sure policy links up. It is, and it will. But the other problem is don't want to get political, but like the federal government somehow has to open up to also then pay for doing the waterway infrastructure that's necessary. There's just so many pieces. This is why I think lawsuits are a huge problem. This is why we're oftentimes in problems here in California. Just if they could just contact, I think the EPA's Lee Zeldin's office directly. I know they might hear this. Please do.
But what's your elevator pitch to Zeldin? What's the message to Zeldin from Bonton?
That this could possibly impact, maybe it could impact tariff negotiations.
But
Because those are happening right now.
but what
Because
what specifically? Sorry.
So China's one of the offtake partners, where they take basically they take some of the dirty metals, right? And there's a lot of tariff negotiations right now. Now's your window, I think. I'm confident is your window.
Bay Bridge, right?
Right, so if we're gonna process and make steel here, then okay, then there has to be upgrades for, let's say, cleaner green steel. Or else it's gonna, go on rail and probably go to Nevada perhaps. Because doing lawsuits just costs time and money. And it's a problem, but here's the other hook. I've been very busy also then with Canada. I'm Canadian. Canada runs on stricter policies and Radius goes into Canada. I have contacted people in Canada. Europe has to run on certain regulations as well. Europe is also involved. Like you'll see, like our people have thrown every cent, dime, dollar time at this and health problems over this. And I really strongly feel that if maybe somebody from that group contacted them, maybe they could get somewhere.
I agree with you. And this is exactly why we put together a collaborative. So someone at the table says, has anybody contacted so-and-so? And as a community member, I go, I don't have the juice for that. Do you have it? Or does somebody else have it? Right? It's what can we bring? What assets can we bring? Hoping that one of those assets or multiple assets work. When I said lawsuits, it was just like, well, lawsuits are one of the ways we irritate the enemy. But really sitting together and saying, what can we do? Well, maybe EPA will actually do something if we call them. Who can call them? Somebody goes, well, I guess I can call them. Right?
I really think it needs to be somebody in Sacramento.
So we try to have we try to have the AG's office at the table, so the AG's office can do what they do. Because I still can't do what the AG's office does, right? So,
The Mr. Bonta are local. We got the assembly and the
Yes,
attorney
yes.
general here in
So-
Alameda.
and they are friends of our work.
Yes.
And the Attorney General knows as well and has chased down things and added things to those suits. But really, we're talking about a methodology in which we get all this stuff on the table. And everybody's there going, oh, someone's gonna call Ponta, oh, Ponta's gonna call the feds, this all influences everyone at the table, right? And it's all out in the open. And there's nobody in the room that can point fingers because they're all in the room. The air district can't say, well, if DPSC just did their job, it's like, no, they're right across the table from you, right?
Right.
So we all have to be honest.
ESC didn't have basically the solutions and the evidence that we put together.
Yeah.
I
That's,
saw a question.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
You said that Radius is out of compliance with Title V for the last 6 years.
Well, who's failing here is the regulatory agencies, EPA and the Bay Area Air Quality District are supposed to require them to get the permit. So the point being that Radius even want to be in compliance, but nobody who's failing to act here is US EPA. Clean Air Act has a citizen suit provision where you can sue EPA to carry out to enforce the Clean Air Act. There's all sorts of ways to get at it. But who's falling down here is US EPA and Bay Area Quality Management District.
Cal EPA or US EPA?
So
Oh, US
citizen-
EPA.
So some group would have to sue the EPA.
We shouldn't have to, but we've had them across the table with their head attorney at the region, my old
When was
colleague.
the last time that happened?
What happened?
When you were talking to the US EPA, how
A few
long?
months ago. I mean, I
Okay.
worked with these for my colleagues. It was in the open though. It wasn't me and them.
Yes, I get to ask this
So, but I mean, it's
Why
so
is that?
expensive, like what's gonna change by like asking them to come to another meeting or what?
So one of the things that moved Red Star East along was, along with all this other stuff going on, is Communities for Better Environment also filed a suit on basic non-implementation of the Clean Air Act plan, the SIP, back then. That caused everybody to move a little bit. So what settled the issue was not that Clean Air Act non-compliance, but it made everybody, including my agency, get more nervous and start saying, why don't you do something here?
How much does it cost to file a lawsuit?
What? There's a player right there.
I think filing fees in US District Court tend to be around 500 or so, but then you also have to retain a lawyer.
Well, you've got to do the work. You've
Yeah,
got to
you
do
have
the
to
brief.
This additional work, yeah, to prepare the evidence and.
One of the ways we approach this is we say, this is the spectrum of our opportunity. We could find pro bono lawyers because we don't pay for our lawyers. The other guys pay for theirs, right? We could find lawyers and we could sue the feds or we could sue the company or Title V is, we can sue the air district for not acting on Title V. They can say, well, we have all these uncertainties. It's like, we don't really care. Part of the exercise is to throw it all on the table. Whereas a community, we're not in a room helpless. We're in a room with allies and with assets and with opportunity. The question is, does the opposition want to come to the table and recognize all the ways we can mess with them, whether we can win or not, we can sure mess with them. The other thing is, as there was a discussion about data, what data do we have? What data is appropriate? We have money right now to do fence line monitoring around Radius. We're just looking for the locations that will get us the best data. So we come to the table with data other people aren't using. The air district isn't using the data we have. The company isn't using any data to support the fact that they can say, well, we've done everything we can. It's like, well, no, you have Chrome coming across your fence line. You haven't done everything you can. It is not a simple exercise, but it's an exercise where we bring all the assets to the table, and having someone that would contact the head of EPA, having a friendly state representative or attorney general, that's an asset on our side of the table. Do you really want that call to happen? This is how I approach it from a community member leader. Do you want this thing to happen? You look at the whole group. Y'all want this to happen? Because if this happens, it means all y'all failed. The community isn't there as like, oh, please do something for us. The community is there to, as nicely as possible, point out the failure of everyone in the room. The fact that we are not protected is a failure of every single person in the room, whether it's a friendly NGO or it's a state attorney general or it's a company making billions, right?
Brian, did you have a follow-up to that?
So like, is there some disadvantage to filing a lawsuit without having all the perfect evidence? Like, it's a matter of $500, we'll take up donations for $500. And if that is enough of a trigger, instead of having the perfect lawsuit to get the process started, like, and in addition, is there any reason not to physically boycott that block of West Oakland to get one's attention? When we have a sitting council person, Carol Fife literally like chained herself to a house to force a giant company, not even that giant in comparison to Toyota, to sell or slightly change, at least, you know, cosmetically, their practices for owning empty houses. Like, that also costs the company money rather than having to, you know, I don't care how they reinvent their recycling. I care that right here, they should not be poisoning our community.
And my approach to that personally is, what's your favorite flavor? What part do you feel is your thing? My thing is to really sit in a room with a bunch of people and hash stuff out, and say radical things. Other people's thing is, I want to be out in the street doing something. Get out in the street and do something, right? There's nothing here saying that anyone is limited. If you have the experience of working inside the government, well, that may be the thing you feel is your best asset. So that's why I said in Red Star East, there was no limit. We sat in rooms, big rooms, planning rooms, and the leadership said, who wants to sue somebody? Some hands went up. It's like, go over in that corner and strategize, right? It's like, who wants to be in a conversation? Some hands went up. Let's go over in this corner and strategize. Who wants to get some bullhorns and go out and yell, right? Over in that corner. All approaches are welcome. There's no reason that you need to come and sit in a room full of people talking about shit. If you would rather be over there with a bunch of people protesting this business. No one's ever done that to them.
I have to
That
say
would,
something.
that would be significant.
I just really think
Go ahead.
Attorney General or Governor Newsom should call me.
But instead, what specifically though? I'm kind of still confused.
I can't disclose business that my family has been working on for 6 years. That's international. That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
It's private. It
Yeah.
could be
Mhm.
government level private.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
but I
no, that's great.
strongly suggest that they
Well,
call
I mean,
the
I'm not-
EPA directly or me. We're in a
Yeah.
time window, and that's all I can say.
I'm not trying to suggest in any of this presentation that we have the power to get Governor Newsom to call you.
No, I know.
Okay,
If-
I just want to be.
And
yeah.
that's,
We can manifest it where they have
somebody can call me, that would be great.
Brian, can I do a quick comment on the suing?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not really discounting that. It was in the air across the table between us and the head attorney for the regional office there, the one that's failing to do it. And this is even under Biden when we were first meeting. And we leveraged it pretty well. There's a lawsuit which they know takes a long time, and at that point, it may or may not succeed, given the judges around here. I mean, forget about the under Trump now. It effectively did leverage them into doing a whole lot of things, Rule 6.4 and all sorts of stuff that they've done a lot. They haven't done what we need them to do. Under this administration, to me, the idea of suing the EPA is really a waste of time. Zeldin has no intention of complying with the law. He's made that clear. And nobody at the Region 9 office is going to act without his approval because they'll be fired. It's a whole different atmosphere now that it's almost unimaginable.
Yeah.
I think some suggestions there should be considered like tools in our toolbox.
Mhm.
There's no one plan that's good, is ideal to work. I just want to, in regarding to some of the suggestions of protesting, with the diesel this year, we had days of action. where we got out on the street and, we got publicity, we have, photo ops. And it served as a general education for the public that's not immediately, aware of, some of these issues. I think it gave us better access to some of our elected officials when they saw this in print, that it was, an important issue that they, eventually they were gonna be, asked to help out in this problem. It also, I think it gave us better access to our elected officials, but, I don't want, also, that combined with legal action, I think really helped us. We even protested the air district. We had days of protest with the air district to get them more focused on some of the problems we were experiencing. So I wouldn't rule out any of those tactics.
I wouldn't either, and I think if through these conversations, if we can bring more bodies to bear on the problem in the community, then, you know, if 30 people sign up to go protest around the facility, we'll help to do that. We have 5 employees, right? So we can't do it ourselves. But that's the actual purpose of this meeting, is to talk about what is this past, what is the circumstance, what are some of the options people might want to pursue. We can call, I mean, we met with the governor's staff. And
The younger man that was, I met him last time. Him?
Okay.
Did you?
I don't know who it was, but we met with them and we told them our story and said, we hope the governor will veto this for all these reasons we're explaining. So.
Yeah, Luke, I think so.
Has anyone gotten through to Toyota 2 show here? Or do you know if anybody
No, yeah.
in the government has?
They're new.
Yeah, but I've.
But all I was trying to say was, I mean, if, you know, the best we can do is ask who we know, talk to you.
Yes, that
That's
would be
what we
great.
can do.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really all I can say.
And your contact information is that site?
Yeah.
Website? Okay. Yeah.
But
why
I do
speak-
want to say, we can't do much more than that because you won't tell us what it is.
National security.
Well, I don't care. I don't actually care whether it's national security or not. A lot of things are covered by that, but the collaborative model is like, lay it on the table. If you can't do that, all we can do is say, here's somebody that you can talk to about it, right?
The biggest hook, guys, here is that they emit arsenic.
Mhm.
It's the most important part. And it hits the water, therefore our food sources and soil.
And this is circularsolar.net is how you can reach.
Yeah. and
Sadie?
Okay.
Sharice, Teresa, with a C.
But I would eventually want to know more about why that's the biggest thing, because other community members think there are other big things. And so this is really a
Yeah,
place
like
where we
the
can't be
PFAS
in a.
thing is a
in a-
big one.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fluorochemicals, that's a bad one.
Well, the latest Fortune magazine has advertising that says keep still in America. And someone mentioned about Audi using aluminum, for example. So I'm not sure, besides military and defense needing steel, like why do we need steel?
Bridges.
Bridges, I mean, is
A lot
is
of
there a
things.
more,
We need cleaner steel. China doesn't make cleaner steel. We make the best steel.
okay, okay. So
I mean,
recycling.
But we need more mining. So I help the mining industry and the recycling industry.
Okay.
So molybdenum is a hardener for steel. And we're gonna be doing some more mining, which will help basically supply chain hardening feedstocks that come from recycling or not. I think it's a possibility that if it doesn't work out here, that maybe it will just be cheaper to put it on a UP train and take it to Arizona or what have you. But then if that happens, we're gonna have a big problem with our local GDP if they shut down radius recycling. So then we'll have other costs. So that's kind of one of the problems, you know?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that Radius employs more than 100 people in like, I mean, I know five
That
different
facility, you
companies-
mean?
I have 5 different companies that would be happy to rent that space or buy it
Yes.
for more than Radius is paying, that'll have people sitting on fucking laptops.
But it's not radius, it's
For
Toyota
Toyota.
two show now, yeah.
It's not an economic
Well,
driver for there.
Well, let's just keep in mind that we're not here to
And
necessarily,
You have to understand, I'm like I'm a weird party. I'm like third party trying to solve other problems too. But I've been creating policy globally for the circular economy. And the way that there are locations, I have one picked out where we can send basically the fluff, the waste or whatever, and it will be really well protected, basically in a now closed mine tailing facility, and it's impermeable. So there are
Well-
other places, and that could go on rail, like there's options, but like,
well, we're here specifically to address this micro scale
right.
problem, not the macro problem, you know? So, I mean, this is all very important.
But
I
I'm
like, I
looking at
really
the things
appreciate
We've been
that.
working on for a long,
Yeah.
long time now come to a head, there's a short window.
We were occupying Bitwise's space, to your point, with having people in laptops. So they alleged that they were teaching coding and they just got arrested for wire fraud. And they kept that place vacant for 2 years. So we came in. It would have to buy the furniture and everything. So you can't market this cachet of people with this toxic place next to it. We're not, and who's to say that their emissions did not cause them to commit fraud and not produce what they were intending on? I mean, their Bitcoin just got denied. They are in jail.
Yeah.
They are in jail. And the property manager knew because they've been there for 18 years. So it wasn't a secret. They also did not clean the place for 2 years. They literally had that 2-year window of lawsuit where they don't have to disclose, like if someone got killed or a poltergeist existed, right? You know, right? And so how are we going, the A's sued because they wanted to be next door. So how can we be a healthy community with them here? I think we all collectively agree they need to go. They need to go somewhere that is not impacting and also not waterfront property. It's dragging Oakland down. And I think they thought they can get away with it because it was a marginal area. We're not marginal.
No,
This is not marginal. This is waterfront property.
Well, we are at time now. And so we do have our next collaborative meeting with the different agencies minus US EPA, unless a miracle happens in the next 2 weeks. On the 12th, at Fermory Park. It's open to the public. We are hoping that members of the public will be at the table. I mean, that includes you all. Brian, what else about this?
the invitation.
Yeah.
We didn't do charting.
That's Wednesday then.
Which is usually helpful to see. Can you we'll send these notes out, but can you just take a quick look and repeat some key things that we heard? Do you have them, or I'll just do it if you don't.
You can go ahead, yeah.
So there was somehow make a connection with the state, the governor's office, so that the pitch can be made to call EPA. So that's an action that someone undertakes. There is some folks want to, I think about some kind of civic action. There is some folks want to learn more about or think about Title V. And we want to we specifically want to talk to the Air District because they can require a Title V permit, which gets the feds involved, whether the feds want to be involved or not. They can say, this is the permit we'll give you. So there's some actions that have come out of this conversation. It's been spirited. But we don't want to just send you home and say, oh, thanks for playing, right? We will bring these ideas back again if you want to come back and meet again. We will bring them up, or we will welcome you to come to the November 12th meeting and raise these issues. Why don't we do this? I have some people who want to do this. This is our self-interest. You and your friends, neighbors, whatever. Our self-interest is the world knows about this thing, so we're gonna pick at your company.
I like the self-interest. I like that.
Yeah.
Because everybody has to be honest. We need more transparency. What are you gonna benefit from?
Yeah.
That's part of the problem.
And that's the critical piece of these collaboratives. It is not to come in the room and point a finger and accuse anyone. It's to come in the room and say, this is what I can bring to the table. And if what I can bring is an organizing capacity, if I know how to get 50 people together and get some banners, then that's my capacity and I'll bring it, right? And then the guys at Radius will go, well, you know, we're just gonna call the police. It's like, do your best, man, you know? Because that's what this is about. You want to do something good? Or you want to just continue a legacy of being a bad neighbor? And that's really what the whole process is about. And that's why I say nobody's idea is the wrong idea. They're all just different ideas.
Can I throw out one more thing? This burst my bubble too. So one of the reasons why they have both explosions or waterway damage are from old boat flares. Oh, they have PFAS in it. Unfortunately, I know this is recorded, but I don't give a damn. You have boat brokers and boat businesses that lobby against converting their boats to electric flares. So meanwhile, that is okay, let me just stop there. Careful. They've lobbied for it. They're one of the reasons why they keep basically, so there's only one place that can take expired flares, and it's actually this area. And there's actually there's a government agency in Sonoma who's championed a state bill, and they're taking them in. What it is that when flares get too hot, and some of the older ones have a lot of more combustion, if they hit a lot of sun, or if they're in a boat or in a car or whatever, and it gets really, really hot, they can self-combust. So one of the things that this area could do, and especially maybe like Oakland fire, Alameda fire, Alameda fire, because also Alameda fires has had to deal with a lot of fires at boats at a marina in particular. But that marina has possibly also had fires as well because of the fluff. But the combination of which is this, there might be a pathway to at least maybe start taking in the boat flares, the expired boat flares, because when I talked to the gal at the government agency in Santa Rosa this week, she said this is the only county, the only location that can take them. And so here's the thing, that the hook on the financial is that you could actually lower the cost of medical by having PFAS avoidance. The PFAS is the hook, guys. It really is. And my work that I've been talking to the EU commissioner agency. So that's the hook. That's the real PFAS impacting, creating explosions, impacting water, soil.
So when you say this is the place, you mean Radius is the place?
I don't know about radius. I just know there's somewhere here that, excuse me, somewhere they could take
Some
some
chemical
location here.
recycling
Maybe it's
facility.
Oakland fire, or maybe do a little digging, call some people or something, where they can take the expired flares.
There's only one place that can take it.
She just said this area, this county. I think she said contact. I don't have time to do this. If you guys want to do this, contact, I guess Alameda County Environment or something.
Or the hazardous waste.
Probably the group of people we've talked to.
Yeah, maybe
If
check
anybody
with them.
knows, it's probably.
That might
them.
be a pathway forward because this is the dealio. Like, and I've
Sure.
talked to my, yeah.
I'm gonna cut you off
Sorry.
here just because we're short on time.
Okay.
Although thank you for bringing that up. I just wanted to ask maybe to close us out, how y'all are feeling about this next meeting. This is something we'd be interested in going to. If there's other information that you want about like the difference between this and that, how to start participate there. We're really hoping that some of you will come back to that meeting because this collaborative right now is very agency heavy, and it's us and it's leadership from Radius, but we would really love more community members there.
I won't
as
be
you
here,
guys are
sorry.
sort of all good, who can carry forward some of these questions and make the discussion so much more rich and so much more actually impactful.
Yeah.
What would be useful for you all, like more people or specific questions or what?
I think it's useful. We're early in this collaborative, so it's useful for all the official people, all the agencies and folks to see that it's not 3 people from one organization in West Oakland. That there are more public members of the public who are interested in this issue, and that they're there to learn more and to speak your own minds, right? One of the things that we can do, because we share the agenda setting with Cal EPA, is if we know that some of you are coming, we make more space for the community members to speak. If we have no community members, then it's just a bunch of official people talking to each other and us, right? We're not really big and official, but we don't want to be the voice of West Oakland or the voice of Oakland. We need the community to come and be their own voice. All your ideas are fine. There's no rule about whose ideas are better. At this stage of the game, we're looking to expand the dialogue beyond where the agencies were able to go. So we're not looking for solutions, we're looking for perspective. That's what the collaborative needs now, broader perspective. So if you come and say, I think this should be done, come and say, this is the impact of this on me. People I know, why aren't we doing this? Why isn't this agency, it's all fair game. Because we're exploring, part of this is exploring uncharted territory, and part of it is exploring territory we didn't know charts existed for. So a lot of this recent conversation, I didn't know these issues even existed. So unless we're having open dialogue, how are we going to know, right? So that's one of the great benefits. We're not trying to solve it in the next couple of meetings. We're trying to open up the conversation so that solutions begin to percolate upward. So if you can come, it's wonderful. We'll make sure that your presence is noted. And the agencies actually love to see the community come to things and talk to them, especially when we have prepared ourselves.
Can we tap into Berkeley? Like their citrus program, for example, where they have a issue and the students can tap into that issue and brainstorm and get credit, university credit for doing that.
I mean, you just told me something that I'd never heard of before, so maybe we can.
I contacted a UC Berkeley doctor on PFAS recently and to find out if she wanted to be a co-author on my paper.
Awesome. Yeah.
But I haven't heard back.
We work with the engineering monitoring projects. And some of that data shows plume coming from schnitz or with the wind. That's really unhealthy plume of stuff, right?
They work with DARPA too. I mean, a lot of these things are under scope, but yeah.
Go ahead and end the
Are you kicking
the
it?
Zoom. No, I mean, let's stay
Remind
around.
everyone just
Yeah.
quarter, 15 minutes past time. We're
Does
really
anyone on Zoom have any last things they want to share?